And we are live. Welcome to the 100 Club. This is short format cricket's home on YouTube and your podcast supplier. I'm Tom, and that is Rich. How you doing, Rich?
I'm very well, Tom. It's another busy day of cricket. Don't know if you caught any of the South Africa-India game earlier, but that was quite the finish.
It was a great game, and I enjoyed quite a lot of the Afghanistan-Netherlands game as well. So I've really indulged myself today. Yeah. We are watching right now, though. We've got clearly the second T20 going on as we speak between West Indies and England. So at the moment, as we're watching, it's 44 for 2. Roy and Ali at the crease with the West Indies winning the toss again. Immediate impressions on what you've seen from the first 7.2 overs, Rich, live.
Well, certainly an improvement on yesterday, where England got bowled out for 103, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Found themselves 10 for 3, I think it was, after about 4 overs. Now, they seem to be, they're going at less than sevens. They seem to have learnt their lesson a little bit from yesterday. They're taking it a little bit easy. Jason Roy is a pretty uncharacteristic 13 off 18 as I watch it right now. Very unusual for him to be going at less than run a ball in the power play, but he seems to basically have decided that, this pitch maybe isn't sort of a 170, 180 belter. Better to play a little bit within themselves, see if they can get 130, 140. That could be competitive on the surface.
Yeah, and I think the West Indians have realised that themselves because they opened up with the spinners quite early in the power play today, whereas yesterday the seamers were clearly having a field day with the England, I'd say top order, but just let's call it the order. All of it. If you are new to our stream, welcome. We love having you here. This is just a chat about cricket. So if you've got any comments, any questions, stick them in the comment section below. We'd love to put them up on screen. We'll have a chat about them. But ultimately, anything cricket related, we're all about it. Yeah. So to join in, it's great. Talking about yesterday's performance again, Rich. Did you think that the England bowlers sort of made the pitch look, like a 120 sort of score might have been more of a reasonable, defendable score? Or was it just such a controlled effort from the West Indians that actually they were never in the shout, really?
Yeah, I think that it was just a quite controlled run chase by the West Indians. I think in a 5-match series, you want to spend a bit of time in the middle, get a bit of a feel for conditions. I think there's something to be said in a tournament, perhaps, for trying to go out and blast the total in 10 overs, do something for your net run rate. But I think in a bilateral series, it just made sense. Get the first win under your belt, especially as they've been beaten so heavily by England in Dubai back in November. It was, get the win, get one up in the series, and don't take too many risks. So I think that's why we saw it. I think it's a bit better than a 120 track. But as I was just saying, I think it's a sort of 140, 150 wicket. But I think that's probably what they'll be having in their mind as they're going for it now.
I think the bounce appears to be the issue. Even the spinners getting quite a lot of sharp bounce. I've seen Fabian Allen lifting it today. We've got Karen Pollard coming in now. He's not going to get much bounce, and he's brought the run rate down though to exactly 6 at the moment. That's the end of the 8th over just coming in. England 47 for 2. The bounce seems to be playing havoc with these batsmen. It's tough in those conditions, right? What do you do about it?
Well, I think you reassess what target you're looking for. You accept that the ball's gripping a little bit. I think you don't do what Billings did yesterday and sort of come charging down the pitch to try and negate it. I think you try and sort of play each ball on its merits, at least in the first 10 overs, and then perhaps. We saw an interesting tactic from Tom Banton earlier, and he was using the sweep very early on. He connected with 1 for 6, but could have easily been out the ball before LBW. So I think you basically, in these bowler-friendly conditions, you have to give a bit of respect to the bowler.
Yeah, and Sheldon Cottrell yesterday, was getting a lot of movement as well. So when you're putting lateral movement on in terms of vertical movement as well, it's going to be really hard. What do we think a competitive total is going to look like from what we've seen of today's innings so far?
Well, they're 50 for 2 after 8. They'll clearly be looking to, as Moeen Ali hoists one deep into the leg side, is dropped out there by, who was that? Karen Pollard, I think. Yeah. No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Not like Karen Pollard to be dropping anything.
No, it was Darren Bravo. off Fabian Allen. I think given where they are, they'll probably be looking at 150, given that they're only 2 down. Should have been 3 down. I think that was the issue yesterday. They when you lose early wickets in T20, it's very difficult to really put the accelerator down in the back 10, isn't it? So I think they've sort of got a view to bat the first 10 here, and then leave wickets in hand, go much harder down the back.
I think that was my big issue with yesterday's performance, was actually that there was no, pause, as it were, once they were 2 down in the power play in the first 2 overs, to say, actually, we can't lose wickets now. They were still actually flashing quite hard, I think, at some pretty dodgy balls before they'd had a look at it. So I think that's where I think they really let themselves down yesterday. Could we put a bit of this down to inexperience? We know this isn't quite the strongest England lineup. There's no Butler, no Stokes, no Bairstow out there. To what extent could you forgive it on experience terms?
I don't know. I think it's pretty experienced. I mean, we are the 100 Club, right? And if you look at 3, 4, 5, 6, they're all 100 team franchise captains.
Yeah.
In Vince Billings, Morgan, and Moeen Ali.
As he puts one beautifully straight down the ground, Mo.
Yeah, he's starting to motor now.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't necessarily put down to inexperience. Cobwebs, maybe. I think this idea that, and I think they did, in some respect, try and sort of dig in a little bit. It was quite an uncharacteristic innings from Moeen Morgan. I think at one point he had about 4 off 17 balls. I think he was trying to get a feel of the pitch, trying to get them up to something competitive. It was one of those days where, every time they seemed to be on the verge of a rebuild, somebody would hit a boundary, they'd get out the next ball, which can happen in T20 cricket. But I think you make an interesting point that people who don't follow T20 get, is that you do have time to build an innings. It's not a case that you swing for the fences every ball.
Absolutely,
you can lose a couple of wickets, take 3 or 4 overs, rebuild, and then sort of go again.
You can see it right now from Jason Roy, who's he's scored a century in the last week. He's currently going at 16 off 22, absolutely very controlled. And I just felt they were flashing a bit yesterday. We'll see how this one pans out. After 9 overs, 56 for 2, and looking at a lot stronger position, as you say. So I think at least 150 looking at that total. If you're new to the stream, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are the 100 Club, just chatting about cricket. If you've got any comments or questions, stick them in the chat. We're pleased to have a look at them, and we can see where we go. As a wide goes down there from Karen Pollard. Horrible.
Yeah,
horrible
very wide from
Yeah. So if we're going to say that yesterday's result was maybe a bit of an anomaly, but we've got a big squad out there. I think a 17-man squad out there. Are any of the team not on the pitch that you might like to see come in over the remaining 3 T20s after this match?
Well, I think they said at the beginning of this 5-match series that they're using it as an opportunity to look at some of the bench, as it were.
Yeah.
We have a T20 World Cup coming up at the end of this year in Australia. Quite a few of the players you think will be sort of mainstays of that team, the likes of Joss Butler, not available. Ben Stokes not available for this tour as well. So I think everybody will get a reasonable go. George Garton, I think, would be the interesting one for me. He's obviously had a pretty meteoric rise on the back of some fine performances from Sussex. Got himself into the 100 last year. Got into the IPL. Had some game time with Royal Challengers Bangalore. He's one of those types of players that everybody's looking for in terms of big hitting, left arm quick. So I think it'd be interesting to see how he slots into the side.
I mean, you think we're looking for someone at 7 who can bat and bowl at the minute. You're wondering why he's not making that one. Karen Pollard sends another horrible wide down against Mo Ali. So I'm trying to keep him pinned wide, but that's not getting it right at all. So, George Garton, certainly. I think I might like to see some Harry Brook as well. Because I think, for my opinion, this lineup has got a couple of people in it who are not playing necessarily as if this is a trial. As if this is an audition, if you see what I mean. Almost as if this is a last chance trial. So I'm wondering about James Vince. I'm probably wondering about Tom Banton and saying, how long are you going to get? Oh, no, there's a horrible drop. Who was that?
I was going to say, that's Shy Hope out in the deep. Moeen's already into his 3rd innings here.
You are a touch ahead of me, Rich. So I think you're winning on that one. But that's an absolute shocker at this level. hoiked into the leg side off a relatively friendly ball from Karen Pollard, and absolutely
Indeed.
dollied up and absolutely, just letting that one go right through both his hands into the lunchbox and down onto the floor. Horror show. Okay, so yeah, I might want to see someone like Harry Brook coming into the lineup, who I think hasn't really had a chance yet, instead of say someone like James Vince. Do you think that one might happen?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll have a look at Harry Brook at some point. I think Vince deserves his spot in the side. He's done consistently well in franchise cricket, particularly in BBL. Though didn't quite have quite as good a summer this year, Australian summer, as he did previously. But I think somebody like Harry Brook is obviously more of a long-term person to put pressure on the current incumbents, the likes of David Malan, Owen Morgan in the England middle order. I do like the opportunity this is giving Moeen, even if he has been dropped twice already.
Yeah.
The idea that if he can bat in the top 4 for England, because we've seen him in the last IPL batting at 3 for CSK. He's got this sort of reputation as this kind of the guy who takes down spin. I think he has a strike rate of 162 against spin. It's one of the highest in the world. I like this idea of seeing him have a run in the top 4. I think he can be more destructive for England there than down at 6 or 7. I think he's a better option than Milan. What do you think?
I think Milan has probably actually moved on from T20, if that sounds incorrect. I mean, we could talk about the Ashes all we like here, but I think now he's been pulled more into the red ball setup. I think there is a shift going on there. We could maybe talk a bit about the balance between red and white ball cricket in England at the moment. We've got a comment in from Syra. Okay, and here we go. Here's a new definition of glutton for punishment: those who persist in supporting and watching England cricket day or night. Well, you might say there's not many gluttons for punishment watching this stream. Let's put it that way. But I mean, it was tough watching some of the cricket recently, certainly in Australia over the winter. Is English cricket in a real doldrums, in your opinion, or is it just a bit of a blip?
Hard to say, because if you look at the 3 formats of the game, T20, England are still, if not ranked number 1, 1 or 2, narrowly lost in the semi-finals of the World Cup. World champions in one-day cricket, and leading the league table in there. So you could say that English cricket, in terms of white ball cricket, is in absolute rude health. Obviously, the test side is different. It's not just the fact that we got thumped in the Ashes, because let's face it, we always get thumped in the Ashes. But we lost at home to New Zealand. Yeah, we always lose. We always get hammered, with the exception of 2010, 2011. The last eight of the last 9 series have basically been hammerings, and most of those predate. All but one predate the 100, and half of them predate T20 internationals. So it's more of a concern what happened in the summer. Losing at home to New Zealand, losing 2-1 down with 1 to play in that series against India.
Yeah,
but is it an issue that is it short format cricket that's causing the problem, Tom?
Well, I think you probably can guess my answer on this one, but I don't think it is. The short format cricket, as you say, largely, if you're blaming the 100, well, just think about when the problems with the red ball game started. I've got 40 years of memories of it being quite horrible quite regularly, and that's long before the 100 existed. But also, I do feel a lot of the pundits do a disservice to cricketers and their mental ability to switch between the various formats of the game. And we've seen it in various guises that if you're a good cricketer, you're good in various formats. And actually, there's a thing there just about playing the right shots, right time, and just mentally actually moving between. That's not impossible for people to do. And it's not like other major nations are playing bags and bags of domestic red ball cricket, themselves. The Sheffield Trophy down in Australia or the Indian tournaments, just don't involve most of their red ball squads. So I just don't see the link so much. I mean, you've got an opinion on this, I'm sure.
I think you can look at it. There's different angles to it. I think the first point you should, building on what you said, is that cricketers can have different mindsets. If you look at that Australian team that just pumped England in the Ashes, the nucleus of that side was the same group that just won the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, and they've just gone straight back into the BBL.
Yes, so the likes of David Warner, Steve Smith, Pat Cummins, fabulous test bowler, fabulous T20 bowler. Mitchell Stark, essentially. These guys can switch between formats. So this idea that you're playing one format or the other, your head's full of white ball cricket, you can't adjust. I think that's nonsense. That does cricket a disservice.
Yeah.
And then I think there's sort of two elements to it in terms of this issue of like white ball versus red ball. One is whether the administrators are just putting too much emphasis on white ball cricket because that's where the money is, or they think that that's lines their own pockets, versus this idea that the red ball competition, regardless of how you structure it, whether you played 8 rounds of first-class championship matches through July and August, the competition itself just isn't good enough. It's just too shallow a competition. I think that's the thing. So it's the competition itself, but also the priority of the cricket board.
Yeah, we could probably do some more on this. If you've got comments on it yourself or thoughts, please do let us know in the chat, and we'll happily keep going on this one because I think we've got a fair amount to be said on it. As another ball goes deep, that's a 6 from Jason Roy. That brings up.
It's starting to motor now, aren't they?
Yeah, 7. The run rate's gone above 7. 74 for 2 now, as they're into the second half of this opening innings for the England team. So looking a lot stronger than they were yesterday. That's a beautiful sweep.
And Jason Roy's just hit one to Antigua.
Yes, gets in.
Mighty ball, Fabian Allen.
Tucking in.
Yeah, it might not be halfway across the Caribbean Sea, but it's certainly out the ground. Yeah, phenomenal hit. Yeah, Roy's starting to motor now. He's up to he's over a strike rate of 100, and he could be looking at a big score here.
It's one of the factors they've got in there today. Actually, is a stronger wind. I don't know if it's certainly not blowing from Barbados to Antigua, but
my Caribbean geography is terrible. I have no idea how far apart Barbados and Antigua are. But
they're relatively close, but the wind will be going the other way.
Okay, fair enough.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. So yeah, that's a beautiful shot from Jason Roy, and as you say, putting the motor on. But as I say, the wind there actually is having a factor, because I think that's why they brought Sheldon Cottrell off relatively early, because he wasn't moving it through the air because he was having to fight that wind almost. We will see. Just going back to the sort of the white ball thing, we've clearly seen Jonathan Agnew, very famous pundit and commentator and broadcaster over here in the UK this last fortnight, saying that actually the county system is going to need some attention now, that he's now in favour of a sort of a 10-team format and moving the domestic red ball season into a much more compact and higher quality version. I mean, that's a bit of a bandwagon, I would say, that is not new. And I think we've heard the likes of Kevin Peterson and that say it in the past. I mean, what's it take for some sort of reform to happen? Is that the answer? And if so, how do they do it?
Yeah, it struck me as a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, Jonathan Agnew talked about it. He said you'd have the 8 franchises of the 100, and then immediately he said add 2. So immediately diluting it, you're up to 10. It's like, okay, well, actually, Sheffield's Shield is 6.
Sorry, you're right.
It's the 6 statesides. So immediately, like 8 will actually they had to add teams to get to the BBL. So they have the extra team in Melbourne, the extra team in Sydney to have the derbies. Yeah. So already, like, okay, you're diluting it further. But, that's what was supposed to happen with the 2-tier county championship. Yeah. Because you want to have franchise teams based out of test grounds. Well, that's basically Yorkshire, Surrey, Lancashire, Notts. These are the bigger counties anyway that can afford the bigger wages, can afford to bring in overseas stars, etc. The problem you have is that even at playing 5 test matches, the likes of Mark Wood needs to be rested. He's our fastest bowler. He can't play 5 tests back to back because his body can't take it. Yeah. So how are you going to have these players playing at their hardest at 100% through a 10-match 4-day tournament? It just won't happen. That's the issue. It's the county championship is a lower standard than Test cricket, but every country faces that. Is that the answer?
I'd also want to ask the questions with the coaching. It's not just the fact they're playing lower quality opposition. The coaches, I feel, aren't doing enough to actually nurture the talent and bring it on. We've seen this in, say, the 100, where a lot of the coaches are being brought in from overseas.
Yeah,
like we can't seem to produce our best, our best players. We can't nurture that talent. I think we do have. It's not like there's a terrible cricketers coming through. We're excited about our young prospects, but they're just not bringing it through into red ball particularly. But you could also argue in some of the bigger senses. That was 24 off that over there, I think, for Fabian Allen, absolute tucking in.
Yeah,
Jason Roy sending a message to the IPL mega auction, I think.
Yeah, pick me.
I don't know how many crore you would pay for Jason Roy. I don't know. Stick a number on it. What do you reckon?
Crow's 10,000, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's $1 million. Is it?
No, it's a lakh is 100,000 and a crore is 10 million.
Okay.
Then you have to convert from rupees.
Before you get your calculator out, we've got another question here from Adam Jones. Do we need reform, or do we need to focus on the areas that we just don't have? We don't have an opener, we don't have a spinner, and we don't have any consistent, decent 90-plussers, fast bowlers. So we have plenty of average meh, that's all. So, yeah, could we cherry pick and just work on those areas with a view to sort of filling the gaps, as it were, I guess? What do you think of that?
I think it's a very sensible suggestion. You're right. We don't have an opener. We struggled to fill that gap. Dom Sibley came in, did all right to start with. Then sort of teams seemed to work him out. Rory Burns never quite convinces. Hasim Hamid got brought back in. Zach Crawley looks good in flashes, but finds ways to get out. I mean, I think Zach Crawley could be the answer. It's a question of how they nurture him. That goes back to your thing about coaching, right? Because he comes into the team that summer, gets that amazing 260 odd against Pakistan, and then averages 10 for his next test matches. So, who's working with him in the coaching setup?
Yeah.
To iron these things out.
Yeah, and I'm not having it. It's not that they're all having mental, issues. They're not all crumbling under the pressures. I don't get that either. I think there's just something is not preparing them correctly for the conditions and the bowlers that they're going to be facing. We know how carefully you think teams would do this, the analysts and all of that. Something's going wrong there. We could absolutely, as Adam says, focus it in on those areas.
I mean, we do have a bowler who's playing, I think he's playing today, who can bowl, 92, 93, highly skilled in Timar Mills. But as said early on in his career, he can't do red ball cricket because his body can't take it. And that goes back to that thing about, bowling 90 mile an hour plus. Why do that in county championship cricket? Because you're just going to kill yourself for very little reward. I've been quite enjoying how this is the sort of how Darren Stevens seems to find himself in the middle of all this as the
as the poster boy of county.
Yeah, which is pretty unfair, but it is that issue that he's a very effective former in county championship conditions, but that doesn't necessarily kind of apply itself to the test arena. Just going back to that thing about have a spinner. One of the interesting things about Jack Leach is he doesn't play short format cricket.
Yeah. And
when the Australians went after him in that, it was at the first or second test. He didn't seem to have that skill set to fall back up. Any Well, any bowler who bowls into spinner and T20 is used to batsmen really coming after them, and they have that sort of repertoire. They can variety. Variety, sort of spear it in a little bit more, come around the wicket, that kind of thing. He seemed completely lost. He just wanted to come on and settle into a spell and bowl ball after ball in the same spot. And you think, okay, well, batsmen today don't let you do that.
Yeah. England through the 12th over now, 97 for 2. Roy and Ali going on nicely, but it's still yet to really kick on beyond that one over of 24 runs of Fabian Allen. We'll keep an eye on that one. So Ollie has come in with some questions as well around this. I mean, Ollie, the England team, test team, would be better if we paid a little bit less test cricket. I'm spitting that one out. You get the point. Less test cricket. I mean, we do play a lot of it comparatively. And you could say maybe that's going where the money is as well, potentially. People always accuse the 100 of being mercenary, but actually we know ECB makes an awful lot of money off its test team. Is the test cricket, are we playing too much of it, and is it of too low a standard? Has anyone said that argument yet?
Well, I think Ollie's hinting at it, isn't he, with his provocative statement. I think that
I like the discuss bit. It's like I'm back in GCSE English again.
Yeah. Feel free to hop in and give your view, Ollie. When it comes to Joe Root was chasing the most number of runs in a calendar year, I was interested to see how far away he was, and I think it was Mohammed Yusuf held the record. I think he was a couple hundred runs behind. But I saw that he was going to do it in sort of 29, 30 innings, whereas Mohammed Yusuf done it in 19 innings. Just played a tremendous amount of Test cricket. You're right. It's a tremendous money spent, not just for the ECB, but also for the boards that host England Test matches. But the odd thing is, if Bangladesh went to Australia and lost 4-0 or 5-0, then people would say, "Oh, why are you giving Bangladesh 5 tests? They're not up to it." But why do they consistently give England 5 tests? We've proven over 30 years we're not up to it. So give us 2 tests. If we can avoid losing 2-0, then we'll think about a third. But let's reduce Ashes series to let's make it like the women's format. Let's have 1 test and then play some T20s.
Well, we should definitely talk about.
We
should definitely talk about the women's Ashes, but it's a bit tough given that 2 of the first 3 games have pretty much been rained into oblivion. The first game, though, was a good one. Talia McGrath putting on a masterclass, as you'd expect. And there's a wicket.
We should say West Indies have finally held on to a catch, and it's Jason Roy.
And it's Kyron Pollard in the deep.
Yeah, bucket hands.
Yeah.
Decent knock then from Roy, 45 or 31.
Yeah, I think he's done really well there compared to what he did yesterday. I mean, that's actually put them in a position to actually put a total on the board. So that's, at least 3 times better than yesterday. Okay. Another comment from Sarah. So I think this is back to Test cricket. We don't play enough Test cricket because it's the best format of the game. I mean, whilst we are absolutely the 100 Club, we love short format cricket. That tends to be what we talk about here. There's no lying. We are absolute mad Test cricket fans as well. Is Sarah trying to do us out of a job? Is short format in the way of Test cricket?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we play more Test cricket than anybody else in the world, and we're already resting. We already can't put the same team out 2 games in a row because everyone says they need resting, even though, and our best 2 bowlers are a couple of years away from the nursing home. So we need to look after them.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see. It's interesting. Jofra Archer's made it out to Barbados to join the squad, and probably not just go and see his family and everything else while he's out there. But it's
made it out as if he wasn't already there. Like, oh, Joff, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Well, no, but in seriousness, we want his elbow to be fixed. So if he's around the staff that can make that happen, please make it happen.
Indeed.
Because he's got years left in him, really, if he does get fit. Another one back from Ollie there is, I've just moved over this one. So if you are playing lots and lots of Test cricket, more Test cricket than perhaps you should, how on earth do you justify it if you're going to become a worse cricketer on the back of it? Is it can Test cricket ever be part of the developmental arc of a player? Or do they have to be relatively finished products at the beginning?
I think I'd like to see the absolute stats on it, but it does seem to ring true. I think that there was a piece that Barney Ronay wrote in The Guardian a couple of weeks ago, which included a few lines on it. And he talked about, Sibley's first summer, I think averaged 40 odd, and then, low 30s after that. Burns came in, did reasonably well, and then tailed off. Obviously, Crawley, I talked about that 260 odd. Like even Ollie Robinson, tweets aside, came into seems to have dropped off, from when he first came in. Is it an element of getting worked out at the international level? The idea you come in a bit fresh faced, people haven't seen a lot of you, and then it doesn't really ring true, does it? In this stage of analytics, you'd think that people know everything about you from your first class.
Well, we're back to my coaching and setup stuff, I guess, potentially. But I mean, it could just be that it happens we've played some really, really strong teams over the last 3 series, and it makes it feel a bit more like that.
I think this is an interesting one in that I was watching a T20 Blast game last year at Surrey. I forget who they were playing, but Ollie Pope was in the Surrey team that day and played a match-winning innings and was being interviewed afterwards. And he was saying that, he'd almost forgotten what it felt like to hit balls outside the off stump. Because he's been told for so long in the Test game that he needs to be more disciplined, can't touch it. I was just thinking that, yes, you want players to adapt in their Test game, but you don't want to take so much of their game away that they cease to become who was selected in the first place. And I often think about that as when I watch Joss Butler in tests. Like he seems so keen to convince people that he's like a proper, test match batter. Whereas I always thought he was brought in the team to be like a kind of like our latter-day Gilchrist, this idea that, we're 80 for 5, but he'll come in and counter-attack and suddenly we're, 200 for 5 and back in the game because he's at 70 off 60 in a test match. But he doesn't bat anywhere near his how he plays in short format.
How do you square that with what I said earlier about I think cricketers have done a disservice and that they can mentally shift? I'd much rather he had that ability than look like someone like Dom Sibley, say, who doesn't look like he could hit it in any format of the game a lot of the time. Ollie has tried to join us, but unfortunately he's going to look like kind of a load of TV interference. I'd love to have him on screen, but that's not working for me right now, Ollie. So if you'd like to have another look at your settings, and we'll bring you right in to the heat of this debate. If you are new here and joining our stream, thank you for joining us. Give us a like, a subscribe. That'd be lovely. Otherwise, stick some comments in, and we're just talking about cricket. That's all it is. Go on.
So you were talking about Butler there.
Yeah.
So he has famously he has the kind of effort written on his bat, which is supposed to reflect his mindset when he goes out, and it's his mindset that nothing else matters. Go out, see ball, hit ball, and that was the mindset that propelled him to become one of the best short format batters in the world. I think anyone would disagree with that. But what's stopping him in the Test arena? Is he being given that confidence? Does he know his role in the side? Does he know what he's being asked to do?
For me, it feels like he's always batting with 10 and 11 by the time he gets a shot, and so he can throw his bat at a few of them, but ultimately it's he's just not really getting a chance to play anything really. A question from Sarah: surely it should be the pinnacle of a player's cricket career. Is the aspiration there for every player in the men's and women's game to be selected for the England Test team, or is the shorter format becoming the most important thing for a young player at the start of their career? Well, and there's some players on the field today who might say, well, actually, Test cricket can do one, right? Because we're seeing it more and more increasingly. I think the player's perspective here is actually, maybe I am just going to do the white ball stuff. Why should Test be primary?
I mean, case in point, a man who's just smashed one into the stands, Moeen Ali, moves on to 31. Retired from Test cricket last year.
Yeah,
peak of his powers. I mean, genuine retirement. I think they would love to have had him in that Ashes side, bringing a bit of balance to it. I think it is still the pinnacle. I think for English and Australian players, in terms of getting to the Test team, I'm not sure if that's true all around the world, and I don't know. I think we got a comment on that.
From Adam. Money wins.
And I think the direction of travel in the game is towards the shorter formats, towards the franchise cricket. And as a professional sports person, you have a finite career. It's really you're trying to maximize your earnings in a 5-6 year window, maybe 10 if you're at the very top, 15 if you're incredible. So can you begrudge people prioritizing? I mean, that's what we see in the West Indies team. That they certainly do not prioritize Test cricket above franchise.
Bit of a question here. I think Ali's out. Is he? Moeen's out.
He is, yes.
So I just missed that one almost. So that takes England to 114 for 4 now. Off
that man.
14.
Karen Pollard again.
He has pulled out a wicket there. They're having a look at it though, so we'll see where that goes. You're ahead of me.
Yeah, it was a very wide one. He's driven at it. It's a question of whether he edges after the bounce. It looks to me like yes, it's going to be out. Okay. It looks like he just gets a little bit of bat on it after the bounce. So yeah, I think Moeen is on his way here, just off the corner of the bat there.
Again, I'd love to ask Ollie's opinion. Can we hear you at least, Ollie? Despite your
I don't know. Let's find out. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Can.
Yeah, I'm joining you from that hotbed of white ball cricket, the French Alps.
It looks like a 70s radiator.
I know. Yeah, you got some definite mood lighting going on.
Yeah. So the French Alps. I mean, what are you bowling over there?
Oh my, it's doing all sorts.
Yeah, I can imagine. We've just been having a chat, quite a good one here, I think, about the balance of Test and white ball cricket and where the money is on this. I mean, I know you've got a strong opinion. Go back onto your point about how much Test cricket we play.
Yeah, so I looked at the the amount of games that have been played this year. And arguably at the start of the Ashes series, you'd say that Australia are looking undercooked. Have they actually played enough of this format to be ready to play it convincingly? And on paper, absolutely not. But turns out, if you've got the skills, and I think for me, most importantly, you've got a side and a setup that has a plan, and everybody in that side knows their role.
Yeah.
Right? I think however much Test cricket England has played over the last 18 months, I don't think you would look at any point over those 18 months and know what the balance of the side was and what the individuals in that side's role was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And in that setup, it doesn't matter whether you're chopping and changing because you're playing a bit of red ball cricket, a bit of white ball cricket. If from test to test, you don't actually know your role in the side. And to be honest, we kind of wax lyrical on this show about Moeen Ali's skills, but has he had the red ball career that his skills deserve? Absolutely not. And I think a huge part of that is because where has he played his red ball cricket? What is his role in the England Test side? And from that, series to series, game to game, he could be anywhere in that batting lineup. And I don't think there's any other Test playing nation that does that to its players.
It was quite good. Did you see the Moeen Ali comments to Cookie during the VTT Sport coverage?
Yeah, I mean, fantastic exchange.
If you're watching this and you haven't seen it, go and dig it out because it's amazing. Where he's talking about how Joe Root was a much more supportive captain, was always willing to put his arm around him and sort of bring him on, and Cookie's there just taking bullets essentially from Moeen Ali about how he didn't emotionally support him and how he was batting him everywhere from 1 to 9.
Yeah, quite the impression that Cookie was not the first one down there with a dog thrower.
Well, he said almost as a joke. He said we couldn't work out whether you were an opener or a tail ender. And you think, okay, well, that's one thing at village cricket. Like, where do you normally bat? But this is the test team.
Yeah,
well, it kind of comes back to justifying the decision that maybe Moeen Ali has made, and some other modern cricketers are making to go back to the short. And Adam's put it here on the screen. You can travel the world. You don't have to take this stuff, for 3 months where you might not be getting emotionally supported by your captain. Fine. You're going to play for plenty of money, and then you go back home and you're back to your family or whatever. And, it goes on.
And I think,
to TikTok.
I think that the argument that, that taking that route and playing the franchise cricket makes you a bad Test cricketer, I think, as you said, Rich, is nonsense. Because you look at the Australian side, players have come out of IPL winning sides, Big Bash winning sides, slotted straight back into that Test line, and delivered. So it's not the innate nature of playing short format cricket that that suddenly turns you into a bad cricketer, a bad Test player. But I think it feels like that the current England setup, does seem to have that reverse Midas touch.
Yeah.
We seem to be very good at taking, the talent that the county game, whatever the standard manages to produce, seems to decrease once it pulls on an England jersey. You look at some of the players that have done well in this, this current Australia lineup. They've spent time playing county cricket. Marnus Labuschagne was playing club cricket in England when he was a kid, and it doesn't seem to have done him any harm.
But plenty of the England players still go over and play their grade cricket.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of them end up in grade, but second grade usually.
Well, with shots like that from Sam Billings, maybe they should. He just absolutely dollied that one up to a short fine leg, and that's actually, England's innings here is threatening to fall over a bit. Rich, what do you think?
Yeah, they're losing a bit of impetus, aren't they? They're 5 down now. I mean, Chris Jordan played well yesterday, so if you can carry a bit of that in. I was just going to comment on the previous one in terms of, because there's an interesting point there. When he says if you're stuck in a country for 3 months, and it is this issue, isn't it, that you have the Ashes tour is however many months that you disappear off, and it's an anachronism in the modern world because it's based on an era when we used to travel the world by ship, and if you spent like 3 months getting there, you had to have a 4-month tour, otherwise it wasn't worth it. With modern travel, do you have to have these 3 months test tours? Can you not just go and play 3 in a month and then be gone, and you don't have this issue of people are sort of absolutely world weary by the end of it and mentally shot because they just want to get back to their friends and family. Or it's odd. It's odd that we have it still. But
somehow I think COVID has obviously been a strain on the players. Right? I'm not doubting that, right? But it does seem as if Test cricket is now something that, as a professional, is to be endured and to be managed. Like if you're an England player, and the idea that we play so many games that nobody can possibly play all of those games and play all of those tours, right? And why don't we have any 90+ bowlers? Well, we do. It's just they're all crocs, and they we can't get them fit enough to play the series. So that tells you we're playing too much cricket. And I think the other thing I think you also seen this year is that if you look at the Australians, they lost players to injury after COVID, and then players came in and kind of played for the cricket, the cricketing lives, right? And over the last 18 months, how many players have come in, played a few tests, knowing that regardless of what they do, they're going to get dropped at some point because of this rotation policy. So that emphasis of actually, perform and cement your place has not really existed, I don't think, within the England setup for the last 18 months.
I do kind of think they would love that luxury at the moment, the England selectors. They would love not to have to select. That would be the best place to be for them. And as Adam says here, if we had someone at the top and that we could regularly actually get 50 for none rather than 50 for 3, that would actually have done quite a lot of good. Is it enough?
Can I just caveat that? I half agree with Ollie there. I agree in the sense of the bowlers, in that with the rotation policy, you could get a 10 for and you'd probably be out the next game because I think you bowled too much. So you got to have a rest now, even though you're bowling as well as you ever have done. I think with the batters, if you came in and made runs, then you are playing the next game. I don't think anybody who makes runs is getting rested because no one is making runs. Even Joe Root, is fallen off now. But no, they're just desperate for anybody. I think you could get double figures regularly.
So then, where are we so far in this? Then I think we've said we've not got very good players. We've got very good coaches, and our setup's a bit ropey. And ultimately, we do it too much, and it hurts. Is that right? Is that where we are?
Yeah, but let's turn this around then, because we could have said all of this in 2015 about the white ball setup. The white ball setup was dismal back in the we were horrible at the 2015 World Cup. Got knocked out by Bangladesh. They've turned it round. So what can the test setup learn from the white ball setup?
Okay, I've got an idea. I mean, the first thing you think about when you think about the ODI setup is that they've got ethos about how they play that game. They are very aggressive. They want to chase where possible, and even if not, they're just going to put going at it as hard as possible. Now, clearly, you don't translate that ethos through to the test team, but you can have a message of some kind.
The key thing is having an ethos and having a plan. It goes back to a point about if you're chopping and changing your lineup, and you're chopping and then you're changing the position that players are playing and the role that players are playing. Actually, I don't know what brand of Test cricket England have been trying to play for quite a long time now. Right? And so if you are looking to bring in a player, what are you judging them on? Because, are you clear that if somebody's out or somebody's not performing in a role, you're going to bring in somebody else to try and drop in and play that role? So, do you then, are you able to scout the county scene to go, right, we need somebody that plays this type of, this brand of cricket, this role? Well, that seems to be nonsense when actually any old person that scores a few runs is put up as a batter. Like that, that does not suggest that there is a brand of Test cricket that England want to play. I think the same comes with like the bowling setup as well. We almost obsessed with trying to look at, let's pick the best bowling lineup for this pitch, as opposed to actually trying to understand, well, how are we going to take 20 wickets, and who are our bowlers that we trust to take wickets that can bowl spells in partnerships. And I don't think that mindset has existed within the England setup.
So if I go back to where I was with that from that, then if you haven't got the ethos, then it's a leadership question ultimately. Coaching and leadership, fine, you can do something about that. And I think therefore, if the fact they're not installing it again, I think is another vote from them saying we haven't got any trust in our players. And you could say it's because the players aren't talented enough, but there's enough players coming through this squad. At some point, this is going to stick if you give it a chance.
So I think they do have a strategy. I just don't think it's a particularly good one, in the sense that with the batting, they've gone out and said that we think the way you win Test matches is you score 400 in the first innings, and the way you score 400 in the first innings is you bat long and you have the top three who chew up balls. So that was sort of the whole rationale between why Sibley was given that extended run. Yeah, because he will bat time. He'll have a strike rate of 30, but he'll bat time.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. You put overs into the legs of the opposition bowlers, and then by the time Root and Stokes come out, they're knackered and then they make hay. And that was the strat. That was the idea behind it. But when that didn't work, and the idea was, okay, well, Sibley will bat 80 balls but only score 15 runs and then get out anyway. They didn't have a sort of change of mindset. Okay, well, maybe we need to be more aggressive at the top of the order and accept that we might lose our openers, but we're gonna go back to sort of what the old Australian team of the 90s and 2000s did, who went out and tried to score at 4 and over, take the game away from the opposition. We didn't change our strategy. We just had a failing strategy and we just stuck at it.
Yeah, that Australia side, they would try and basically, bat the slips out onto the boundary as soon as possible. Right? And then it's hard to take wickets when you don't have any close catches, because everybody's trying to keep a lid on the run rate. That is a strategy that makes the opposition captain uncomfortable, right, and disrupts their bowling plans. I didn't really see how England were trying to disrupt the Australian bowling plans at any point in that Test series. For all the talk of we've been spending 18 months gearing up for this series. What was Baldrick's cunning plan? I didn't see it.
Well, yeah, and they do, as I think Adam is sort of suggesting here on the comment on screen at the minute, suggest that occasionally we just need heroes, and we become reliant on that from a few occasions where that has worked for us, perhaps. I'm not writing off Stokes in any format of the game yet, but there is a dependency on him for some of the bigger results, right?
Yeah, and if it hasn't been him, Root, Tests that we've won, Root's made big runs. That's the other standout, performance that has, single-handedly won us, some games of cricket.
Yeah.
But that in itself that's not a strategy either, is it? Just saying that, perhaps one of our standout marquee players will win us the game. It'll work every now and again, but it's not going to win you any series, is it?
So then the devil's advocate point there is that, is it time for Ben Stokes to go off to the white ball game, leave the Test game for someone else? Adam is going on to say that the kind of, as we always had at 5, are long batters who can hold the innings right through all the way and actually maybe stop a collapse as it's occurring. And that doesn't ever feel like a Stokes. I mean, is Stokes right for Test these days?
Well, I mean, I think that depends on Stokes. I think it's a better side with Stokes in it. I think he has had injury problems, well documented, both physical but also mental. I think he rushed himself back a little bit for this Ashes series, because he did seem to be struggling with side strain was it at various points. I think my challenge to anybody who said, okay, well, I don't want Ben Stokes at 5. It's okay, well, who are you dropping him for? I think ideally he would be more. If you had a stronger batting lineup, he would be a 6 or potentially a 7. If you had Bairstow batting well and keeping, having a Bairstow at 6, Stokes at 7, and then Wokes at 8. That would be quite a good lower middle order. But who are you playing at 5 then? If you're not having Stokes.
Yeah, so that's a great lower middle order, as long as they're not in, with 40 on the board. At the moment, that as a lower middle order, that's what who have you got in above them?
Okay, we're going to pause there because we've been talking Test cricket. There is still a fantastic game of T20 going on. 17th over just wrapping up. Yeah, go on, Rich. Give us the headlines.
Well, 140 for 5. Chris Jordan going well, 17 off 9. Owen Morgan has 9 off 8. And we've got 3.1 overs left. So I think we're looking at, could be looking at 180 here. Quite a few more than I said at the beginning of the show.
I don't know whether to be excited about that or not. As we always know, I want to see both teams have a bat on a pitch before I make too many predictions.
So you like to make your predictions once the fixture is over?
Yeah, often. Yeah, I think that's a safer way of doing it. Talking of things that might be over, is it time for Owen Morgan to become the next captain of the England Test team, according to R. Baker? Are we ready to see Owen come back into the Test fold? He's batting at that rate.
Wow. Bam at 5. Couldn't do any worse. Could he? Give him a go.
I don't know. What about Ollie Pope? Maybe he's the answer in there. I don't know. I'm not done with him yet.
I think Ollie Pope needs to go and have a season at Surrey and score 2,000 runs, and then come back more ready to be destroyed by the England system again. I think Ollie Pope needs a bit more white ball cricket. I think he just needs to feel bat on ball a little bit, sort of just get that rhythm, that timing back a little bit.
As the official cheerleader for the Welsh Fire, I say yes.
Of course, yeah. Did he ever have a game for the Welsh Fire? Last
barely.
100?
Didn't last long. Bring back Ian Bell, says Syra. I like that one as well. What's he up to? I'll tell you who we shouldn't be bringing it back right now is Steve Harmison. Have you seen the size of him? Bless him. In the commentary box. Anyway, that's a very personal comment. Steve, you're an all-time favourite. Another comment here. Okay. In all formats, should we raid other counties' spares? Other countries' spares, sorry. Not other counties. I'm not sure the counties have got any spares. KP, Trot, etc.
Call it for Dan Stevens.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I mean, we have seen clearly people move internationally in cricket. I'm not sensing that there's anyone who's coming across particularly that wouldn't do so anyway at the minute. Any thoughts on that one, Mitch?
Well, he's been a guest on the 100 Club. The Warwickshire's Chris Benjamin surely has designs on an England. He told us it was his dream.
He's had his hand in the air, hasn't he? He's been waving.
Yeah, he said he wants to play in the Ashes for England.
Yeah, his dream was to walk out of Lords with the 3 lions on his chest. And we said the Proteus, surely.
No, he was adamant, absolutely adamant. Lovely guy. Had a great tournament. Why not?
Indeed. I mean, when we're raiding, it's likely coming from the southern tip of Africa or the island of Barbados at the minute. We can see while Chris Jordan and Jofra are over there if they've got any other mates who can come and do a role.
Well,
as Owen Morgan holds out to long on.
Yeah, good. 13 off 11. That's a tremendous inning. I don't know. You might be slightly ahead. He might have nicked a single between now and then. Rather than maybe raiding overseas, we could do something more to encourage cricket in this country because there's huge swathes of the country that love cricket but don't play it.
We could stop charging children subs to play junior county cricket. Did you see that story this week?
Grim.
Did you see that, Ollie?
No, what was this one?
It was basically on top of kit. Counties charge subs to their representative 11s. So if you're
Subs.
sort of so if you're sort of under 11s, under 13s for etc., I think Sussex was the one quoted, but I think a lot of them do it. Your parents are on the hook for 300-400 quid a year in sort of minibus and teas and all the rest. Quite ridiculous,
Yeah,
really.
I thought at that point you were supposed to be doing the counties a favour by playing for them.
Yeah. Maybe that's why Darren Stevens is still good at getting the game. He's good with his subs.
Yeah, he's timely. Yeah, first one to
Just-
pay.
I think he does a cracking tea.
Yeah.
I like to think Steve-O does the subs. Actually, I think he sits there with one of those metal trays,
Cooks the books.
sorting out the coins from the notes with a little notepad.
We are nearly at the end of the England innings, and I think we will be wrapping this up as that innings comes to an end. So let's go back onto the white ball format. What do we want to see from the remaining 3 games of this series? Not predicting the result here, obviously, because I haven't seen both teams back. What do we want to see from the rest of this this 5-game series in Barbados?
Well, I think you guys are talking about it.
What have you?
I kind of joined.
Go on.
I was going to say, you guys were talking about it before I joined, but I think there is this sense that England are kind of trying out the bench a little bit. Like if there was a criticism I'd have had of the kind of the T20 World Cup squad was that they didn't have like just a young gun like kind of middle order batter just as an alternative. And I think I'd be quite keen to see a bit more of Harry Brook in an England shirt just to see how he goes.
It's not at all to do to your Yorkshire affiliation.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I no longer have any Yorkshire affiliations. It's strictly Northern Superchargers. I'm going to disavow all ties.
That's probably for the best.
Cricket Club.
Ollie also wants Adam Blythe back in the squad.
So some Harry Brook would be good though.
Bit of Harry Brook, and I think, as I said, I think they probably could have done with, they could have probably done with a bit of Harry Brook out in the UAE.
Okay, Rich, what do you want to see from the remaining 3 games of the series?
I think it's not a bad thing that England are finding themselves quite a few wickets down early, because I think you wouldn't want to necessarily see them 2 or 3 wickets down through a 20-over chase. We've seen enough. We know what Jason Roy can do. We know how good Moeen Ali is. At the moment, we're seeing Chris Jordan batting quite well. We're seeing Liam Dawson, who who had a bit of a stuttered career. I mean, he was in the World Cup squad back in 2019, but barely featured since. Very canny operator, both of the ball and the bat. So I'm quite enjoying seeing seeing some of the lower middle order and kind of the tail get a bit of time out in the middle, because I think that's what you want to have it, so that when you get to a tournament and you're in a tight run chase and you find yourself 6-7 wickets down with 5 overs left, you want to know that those players have had some time in the middle, what they can do. So I think let's see that. But ultimately, I want to see them win this series. I think the West Indies are a very good T20 team, very difficult to beat at home. So England to win.
We've got Sheldon Cottrell about to send down the 19th, of course. He's putting it wide, though. Too wide for that one for Chris Jordan. So, still on target for a good title here.
You seem to jumped over ahead of me. Absolutely, you're right.
If you kind of compare the thing that the white ball team managed to do compared to the red ball team, they kind of got into the habit of winning cricket matches. It's one of the ways of being a good cricket team is to win cricket matches, and that, as you say, that involves getting out of tricky situations. Right? So, if we can get the lower middle order actually, having to perform, then
there's
it
a
kind of
thing
gives
there
you
as well. Is actually losing the toss. Losing the
Yeah.
toss is part of that, and actually having to put runs on the total. For too long, we were quite lucky. So I'm quite enjoying the fact that these 2 games we've had to put something on the board. We've got another over and a half left. If you are new to the 100 Club, welcome. We love having you here. We're just a couple of guys who like talking about cricket. If you enjoy this kind of thing, check out our channel. hit the subscribe button and give us a like, and that's be much appreciated. But most importantly, we'd like you to stick some comments in the chat, and we'd love to take any questions or comments that you have. As we just see out the last elements here of the England innings. My last point I wanted to stick on what we might want to see from this series is the spin and our use of spin in short format cricket. So we've got 3 frontline spinners essentially underpinning our squad out there, and that's not unusual in short format cricket at the moment. But is that the future? Do you think for the shape of this team, or do you think one would lose out in the future, Rich?
I think you want to have. I think it's too broad brush to say spin, because I think they are almost sub skills in themselves, right? So you've got conventional off spin from Moeen, you've got the leg spin, takes both ways with his googly Adil Rashid, and you've got the left arm spin, Dawson. And I think they're all quite three different weapons, depending on who you're playing against. If you're playing against a team with more sort of lefties, and obviously the ability to, then Moeen becomes more important. That's how CSK use him, to attack the left-handers, moving away from them. So I think you need to have all these sort of weapons in the squad, and then you deploy them depending on the surface and the opposition.
Yeah,
as Chris Jordan departs for a very creditable, but 27 or 15 to go with his 28 yesterday. Yeah, pretty good from Jordan.
But it's going to leave a big question, I think, because the team's got to now find an over and a half, and I do think there's a question about the shape of the team, which is, are we a batter light on the squad that we've gone with over the first 2 games, do you think?
I think it's always easy to say you're a batter light when you find yourself, 7, 8, 9 all out. I think the way that they play their cricket, with the sort of the aggressiveness of it, they will at times find themselves, many wickets down after 16, 17 overs. But I don't think they're not going to change the way they play, because I think overall they think on balance they're better off continuing to go hard. Chris Jordan's he slapped one and been caught a long off there. He hasn't tried to nurdle it around for the last 9 balls and make sure he's there.
And in fairness, Liam Dawson's currently going at 400 as a strike rate, admittedly off 1 ball. And we know Adil Rashid doesn't hang around if he doesn't have to.
Yeah,
let's see what he does as he absolutely swing and a miss on that first delivery.
Well, he's managed to get himself off strike now with could have been out LBW, but I think it's just sliding down. So
we must learn to sit with
if you posted a total that's a little bit subpar, then you want a few bowlers in your lineup, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And we had this conversation a little earlier, Ollie, and you might have an opinion on it. Where do you see George Garton having a realistic shot for this team?
Yeah, I mean,
hasn't had a good
BBL. He's been playing at this level, I guess. Until you see him playing against really top class lineups, it's hard to say. But get him in and let's see what he can do. I know no point having him in the squad and around the fringes of the squad carrying the drinks. That doesn't tell you anything. So get him in the squad, play him.
Yeah, and the nice thing about this series is it's just 8 days total out there. So clearly they're back for Valentine's Day and whatever else they need to do back in the UK. So 8 days to get through the choices. Sorry, Ollie?
I think they've all got dates they've got to get back to.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm suggesting.
Here's a quick one for you. We talked a lot about England this evening, and obviously we're seeing the Windies. They had a disappointing World Cup. They're looking to rebuild as well. They've gone for quite a lot of experience in this squad, not too many youngsters. What do you make of them, what you've seen so far?
Is that one for me?
Well, unless they're on French TV, I'm guessing Ollie hasn't seen a lot.
You're not picking up so much off the website.
That heavily on Channel Plus.
Look, I think they are a team that's quite good, I think, of pulling through their younger players. We've seen the likes of Nicholas Pooran come through reasonably well, and now we've got another, a set or two in Fabian Allen and that like. Dawson holds out in Cow Corner. He's gone. So there goes that strike rate. Just 200 then from. But I think you do have to have a bit of experience hanging around in there in terms of Kieran Pollard is still going to teach these youngsters an awful lot of stuff, and he's not underperforming at the moment for me. They've moved on for Chris Gale.
Yeah, are you getting Pollard on the back of your Welsh Fire shirt for this summer in anticipation of the big man arriving in Cardiff?
Well, we should talk a little bit about the 100, Rich, because the retention period...
Because it's up there in the logo.
Because of that. But it's coming close.
An hour and 5 minutes in. Let's mention it.
Oh, no, it's coming close. So the fixtures, I believe, are going to be announced next week. Does that make you excited?
Oh, can't wait. Going to plan my whole summer around it.
You better be. You're going to be on YouTube a lot.
Well, in all these cases, it's when he goes on holiday, isn't it?
Yeah. Normally got 2 weeks in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's about right. Well, yeah, wherever he is, he could be anywhere right now. He says he's in the French Alps, but I think he's possibly just disguised as a gaudy wrapping paper.
Somewhere in the 1970s.
Yeah. So the 100 fixtures come out next week.
Yeah. I feel like I want to tune the dial to get a picture of Ollie. Just
do not adjust
get on
your
coat
sets.
hanger.
100 fixtures out next week, and then we're expecting the announcement for the draft date to come out very soon as well, which I'm expecting to be the end of March. So we do know what some of those squads are going to look like, and clearly between now and then we of course have the IPL mega auction to come. So there's quite a bit of that kind of action coming up over the next few weeks.
Do you think
something to play for?
I think the draft will capture quite the same razzmatazz as the mega auction?
I do not, Ollie. I'm in two minds as to whether covering it all on this channel, which is ostensibly the most friendly channel in the internet for 100. But if I try, I don't know if you remember last year trying to cover the wild card draft, and they just stuck them all up on screen in a wonder. I was furious. I'm still not over it.
Yeah, we did manfully go through 16 squad profiles, didn't we? Of which about half the players remained once the tournament started. So it would be nice to have a bit more certainty this time around. Well, they did see Brandon Glover had a good day.
He did. Last ball of the innings, last ball of our coverage tonight. Coming up, Sak Mahmood has just put the penultimate ball over square leg for 4. 170 up with pending this last ball. This is a decent total, I think.
Yeah, this is competitive. I think England win this.
I agree. I'm not even going to wait to see a ball bowled for the
You're sticking your neck on the line.
I am. I think they're going to get this one. So on that highly positive note, I think we shall wrap this up. If you have joined us for the first time, thank you very much. It's been great having you here. We are the 100 Club. We do all sorts of short format cricket, so check our channel out. Give us a subscription and a like. We'd love that very much.
Presumably the next show will involve us talking about how the Windies chase this down with ease.
It better not do. I'll tell you what it won't involve. It probably won't involve us talking for 45 minutes about Test cricket. But we love it, really. Gents, thanks very much for joining. Thank you to you all. We'll catch you soon here on the 100 Club. And have a great night.
Bye.